Hey guys, today's topic is perimeter, Unit 5, Day 2. Our objective is that you will be able to determine the perimeter of two-dimensional shapes. So real quick, hopefully this is a review / a reminder, but the perimeter is the distance around the edge of a shape. So if you look here, perimeter of our square, it'd be going around all four sides. Okay? So for our first teacher example, when it asks you to determine the perimeter of the figure below, you're just going to take every single side that you're given and add them up to determine the perimeter. But as you can see with this shape, we don't know some of these side lengths. Like there's this side length here that we're unaware of, and this one here that we need to figure out. Luckily, there's lots of information from the rest of your shape that you can use to figure out what the perimeter is going to be. The first thing that I want us to look at is this section here and this section here. If you look, this first green section here is the same as this portion here. And then the second green section, that's 3, will be the same as this section here. So you know that long side is actually going to be 4 plus 3. So we know that this side will actually be 7. Similarly, when we look at the other side, we can see that this section here is 2, and this whole section is 6. So we're looking for some number plus 2 that gives us 6, which is in this case 4. So we know that 4 plus 2 will give us 6, and then 4 plus 3 gives us 7. Now that we have all of our side lengths, we can add them together. 7 plus 6 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 4. And let's see. So this and this, that gives us 8. And wait a second, that should be 10, sorry. And this is 10. So you should get a total of 26 centimeters is your perimeter. So using that same logic, make sure you figure out what this length is here first, and then add them all up to get the perimeter. Now, the method that we use for our first teacher example is very common in a lot of these perimeter questions. However, sometimes you might need to use another method that we've talked about before, the Pythagorean theorem. So if you don't have all of the side lengths, but you do see a right triangle, then we can use our a squared plus b squared equals c squared to determine one of the missing sides. So for example, if we're asked to find the perimeter of this right triangle, well, we need to start by labeling our a, b, and c. Here's our hypotenuse, which we know has to be c. And we can make this a, and 5 can be b. Our Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if we plug that in, 6 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. 36 plus 25 equals c squared. And we're going to take the square root of 61. And you get 7.8, which is what c is equal to. Now remember, we're finding the perimeter, so we need to add up 7.8 plus 6 plus 5, where we should get 18.81 centimeters for the perimeter. So using that same method, I want you to try student example number 2. Similar to the Pythagorean theorem, sometimes you might find yourself having to use special right triangles or trigonometry. So as a reminder, this one is our 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, and this one's our 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. And then at the bottom, you have your sine, cosine, and tangent ratios. So let's take a look at teacher example number 3. A couple of things that I recognize right away is I have two missing sides. This one here and this one here. Luckily, the green one's pretty easy because it should be congruent to that other side. So we know this one is going to be 5 centimeters. This slanted portion is a little bit trickier. We're going to need to figure out that bottom part first, and then once we know that, then we can figure out our yellow slanted side. If we see this is 1, that is some number, and this is 2, and it should all add up to 8. So 2 plus 1 is 3, and 8 minus 3 is going to be 5, which is how we know this section here is 5 centimeters. Now we have a 45, 45, 90 degree right triangle because we know this one side is 5 and the other side is 5. And just as a reminder how to solve these kinds of questions, if we know this is 5 here and this is 5, I'm going to draw our guide triangle, x, x, x square root 2, and then we're going to write out all our equations. We'll say this is our hypotenuse. So 5 equals x, 5 equals x, h equals x root 2. If we know that 5 is x, we're going to plug that in here, which will equal 5 square root 2. Which means our yellow here is 5 square root 2. So now once we know that, we only want to add up the sides that go around our shape, which means we're not going to be adding that 5. It was only there to help us figure out our hypotenuse there, 5 square root 2. So when we add these together, we're going to do 5 root 2 plus 5 plus 1 plus 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 2. And then hopefully when you add all of those together, you're getting a perimeter that equals 33.1 centimeters. Try this student example number 3. In your summary, make sure you are writing 3 to 5 sentences. Make sure you include the objective in your summary and that you're using the correct academic vocabulary. See y'all in class.